Hi, my name is Patty Amador-Laxon. I'm a Senior Associate Director of Admission here at Grinnell College, and I'm here with my colleagues who will introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Joyce Gill, and I'm a second-year student here at Grinnell College. I'm majoring in computer science, and I'm concentrating in digital studies, and I'm from Seoul, South Korea.
Hi, my name is Harvey Wilhelm. I'm a fourth-year anthropology major concentrating in policy studies, and I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I will provide you with a little bit of information that is about the college, but everything that I will share with you, you can easily find on the website. The most important people for this purpose are our students, and so I'm going to try and draw out from them what it's like to be a student at Grinnell College. So the first thing I would share with you is just who comes to Grinnell College. What's the population of people at Grinnell College? So Grinnell has about 1,700 students, give or take a few. And the students at Grinnell College are incredibly diverse. We are really lucky in that our students come from all over the country and all over the world. We have students from all 50 states, including some US territories like the Marianas Islands, Puerto Rico, Washington, D.C. We also have students from over 50 different countries. 22% of our population are actually international, and we have a really amazing group of people that come from as far away as South Africa, Southeast Asia, to attend college here in Grinnell. In addition to diversity of place, we also have other kinds of diversity that we celebrate here at Grinnell. About 25% of our population of students self-identify as domestic students of color. About 13 to 16% of our students identify as first-generation college students. They'll be the first in their family to go to college. Some of them are even the first in their family to graduate high school. Another fun thing to know is about 91% of our students are receiving some form of aid from Grinnell College. And that just means that there are a lot of lived experiences in the classroom. We also have a lot of diverse students in other ways. We have a really robust Disability Resources Center with a Student Access Center that ensures that students who are neurodivergent or who have learning differences or mobility, sight, hearing issues all have equitable opportunities to learn at Grinnell. And we are also a school that is pretty well known for being friendly towards the LGBTQ community. So Grinnell is a place where people come from all walks of life. And you may be wondering why on earth so many different kinds of people come to Grinnell. And I think that's a great question, and I'm going to have our students answer that question for us. So the first thing I will put to you, and we can start with Harvey, is tell us why you, Harvey, decided to come to Grinnell College.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. I chose Grinnell because when I visited, I just had a really great feeling about the community that was here. I knew I wanted to go to a small liberal arts college. I knew I wanted to swim in college. That's been something that was really important to me. And Grinnell fit those boxes, but I was kind of undecided. And I came to visit, and I just had a really great experience with all of the current students and staff that I was able to interact with. So it was really a place that I could see myself, and I ended up applying early decision.
And Joyce, why did you decide to come to Grinnell College?
I had a very different experience. I applied regular decision, and I was applying from Seoul, South Korea, and so visiting colleges was never really an option for me. So I really had to do my research and rely on online resources. And one thing that really stood out about Grinnell to me was the individually advised curriculum. I majored in computer science, but I was interested in a variety of other disciplines as well, and I really like that Grinnell not only provides students with the opportunity to, but also encourages students to explore other disciplines, and I just really like that. And also, my family's in Omaha, Nebraska, which is just like a 2-3 hour drive away, so it was like not too close, but not too far, and it was like the perfect distance for me, and yeah.
And I know that your life is here at the college, but we are located in a small town. We have about 9,000 people in our town. Harvey, can you share with us a little bit about what you do out in the community?
I work through the CLS at the Grinnell Housing Authority. So I get to work with the executive director there, and we spend time together, and I sort of just intern at her office and help her out with anything that she needs. Also, I spent the summer here last year, so that was a really nice time just to kind of be a part of a lot of those community events like the farmers market or music in the park, these things that happen during the summer months. that you don't always get to do as a Grinnell student during the academic year.
And you said CLS. What does that mean, Harvey?
Thanks, Patty. That's the Center for Careers, Life, and Service. Lots of acronyms around here.
Thank you. And Joyce, what do you do out in the community?
Outside of Grinnell College, I co-teach at the Grinnell Middle School through Grinnell College's chapter of Girls Who Code. So basically every Monday, a few college students and we go to the middle school and we just kind of teach them basics of computer science and robotics. It was so cool to see all the skills that they learned throughout the semester, and they all made like really cool projects based off of the skills they learned. Like one of these girls, she like made a robot. She made like a spin-off of the hot potato game. So we all like sat around in a circle and just like passed around the robot. And then at a random point, it would like stop and just like make a really evil laughter, and it like turned red. And that was her project. And it was just so cool and so much fun.
Oh, that sounds nice. So I'm going to turn a little bit to the reason I think most students will come to Grinnell for the academic experience. As you both know, Grinnell is unique among a lot of colleges that do something called open curriculum. Here at Grinnell, we call it an individually advised curriculum. And so in order to graduate from Grinnell, students have to take and pass their one general education requirement, which is the first year tutorial. They also have to accumulate 124 units in total, and they have to complete at least one major. So those are the requirements for graduating from Grinnell College. So students have a lot of agency. Just to put it into context for you, if a major has 8 required courses, students are taking 1 class every semester and still have 2 to 3 classes every semester to take whatever they want because they want to. But they don't do it alone. They do it with the help of an academic advisor who is a professor at Grinnell College. And their first academic advisor actually comes from their first year tutorial. So back to that 1 required class. So the first year tutorial professor will stay with the student for their first 4 semesters or until the student picks a major and a new advisor from within that major. So I'm gonna let our students tell us a little bit about the advising process. Harvey, why don't you tell us about your first year tutorial experience?
Yeah, I had a really fun first year tutorial. So I was with Mark Lewandowski, he's a biochem prof. And the tutorial was called Farm to Table, so it's all about like local food, but also nutrition, you know, sort of industrialized agriculture and how all these things like play together. And it was really fun to do that right here in Iowa. We got to visit like a local organic farm, and then we also spent a lot of time cooking together and eating and watching films about food and reading about food. Just kind of all these things together. And it's probably also one of the only classes you'll have that's only other first year students. So that kind of makes this like fun little cohort that you get to have for your first day of school.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you picked a major and what that process was like for you, Harvey?
Yeah, I initially wanted to be a bio major, and so Mark, like definitely as a biochem prof, kind of helped me get on the right track for that, and I was on track for that. But I also had that extra room in my schedule to take intro anthropology my first semester, lucky me. And then in the spring, I ended up taking another anthropology class, and I was also kind of exploring a bit. I was taking intro econ, intro global development studies. And so then after my gap year from COVID, I came back and I decided I really wanted to focus on the things that I was excited about and dedicate, you know, my time and passion to those things. So I decided to keep going with anthropology and major in that, and then just sort of like left that room open and found the policy study concentration a little later on.
And how did you pick your advisor for anthro?
That was through one of the core classes for anthropology, theories of culture. So my advisor is Professor Tess Kolstad, and she was my professor for theories of culture. And we had a great little like kind of 6-person class, I think, just like a small discussion cohort. It was kind of like a seminar. And so we just had a good, you know, teaching relationship, and I asked her to be my advisor.
And do you have an advisor for your concentration?
Yes, I think technically it's a professor that I have not taken a class with, but my unofficial advisor would be Professor Jozwiak, who taught the advanced policy research courses and like the applied policy research. So in the fall, we did like a 4-credit class focusing on housing policy and like the history of the housing market in the US. And then in the spring, we sort of went out on our own and did our own projects, and he facilitated all of that. So.
And I should add that at Grinnell, we don't have anything that's officially called a minor. You said you had a concentration. What is a concentration?
Yeah, I would say a concentration is kind of like a loose minor that allows you to concentrate in an area that isn't very strictly binding in the requirements. I find that a lot of the concentrations have requirements that allow you to take a range of different classes to fulfill those requirements, and then maybe a couple like policy studies, 220, policy studies 320. Those are like the classes that are very like core for the concentration, and then there's like a list of classes that you could take to fulfill your institutional context or other things like that.
So a concentration is not like a mini major. It really is interdisciplinary, and it focuses on a question or a topic as opposed to deep in one department.
Yeah, and I think that's like fun, is like they kind of fit into all the majors. So you could be in a concentration class with people from all across, the whole college.
How did you pick your tutorial? Tell us a little bit about that.
I wish I could go back in my mind. I really want to find out what I ranked. I don't know if that list is somewhere, but I want to see what my top 5 were. I think it just sounded cool. It sounded fun. I was a little into like farming. I was very lucky. It was a really fun class. So.
After students are admitted to the class, after the class is closed, students are typically sent a list of tutorial topics. The thing to know is that tutorials are not department specific. There isn't like a bio tutorial or a poli-sci tutorial. The professors are actually thinking about topics for their tutorial about a year before they actually teach them, and they can pick whatever topic they choose. Joyce, you talked about wanting to come to Grinnell for the chance to take classes in a lot of different departments. Can you tell us how that's played out for you?
Coming into Grinnell, I was pretty sure that I wanted to major in computer science because I did a lot of things with coding in high school, but I still wanted to explore, and I still loved learning about a bunch of other disciplines. And so after coming into Grinnell, I have been taking all of my required computer science courses, but I've also taken courses in like history, like music, art, linguistics, the list goes on. And I just love that I have the opportunity to learn about all these other disciplines, and I really feel like that's something that sets Grinnell apart.
And have you had help from advisors in picking these different kinds of classes and going through this exploration process?
I think yes and no. No, in the sense that I already wanted to take so many courses in different departments that professors were never you have to take more in other departments. That was never really a thing, but they did kind of help me navigate different courses because we have so many course offerings. My advisor, her name's Professor Sarah Purcell. She's been here for a very, very long time, longer than I've been alive. And so she helped me navigate all of our course offerings. For example, she recommended linguistics to me, which I'm taking this semester, and I never would have imagined that I would take linguistics, but it's so much fun.
Professor Purcell is also an alumna of the college, so yes, she's been here quite some time. Harvey, how about you? Have you had a lot of guidance from your professors in choosing your classes?
I think less so in choosing my classes and more in just general exploration and sort of directions that I want to pursue. I feel in a way every professor is an advisor, and I've really found that they are excited about your excitement, encourage you. If you come and you're oh, I really want to take this class, they're great. They can also push you. My advisor really pushed me when I went abroad to kind of go outside my comfort zone and go somewhere where I didn't speak the language and where I would be a little more on my toes. And so I think that was great. But I would say as far as picking classes, they really encourage you to sort of follow your excitement.
And speaking of study abroad, Grinnell does have really abundant study abroad opportunities, but we don't call it study abroad here because over 20% of our students are already studying abroad here in Grinnell. So we call it off-campus study. So when you're doing your web search on the Grinnell website, you're gonna look for the off-campus study office, which is under the umbrella of the Institute for Global Engagement. The off-campus study office does an amazing job of vetting a lot of different programs. We own and operate one program called Grinnell in London that is strictly for a cohort of Grinnell students, and it's team taught by 2 Grinnell College professors. But they have done an amazing job of vetting programs through their partners so that we can offer over 100 different programs for our students. And because they've been so well vetted, we know that they're safe, but we also know that they're academically sound. So all of the credits that you earn for your study abroad semester actually transfer back to Grinnell. And a lot of students will often get credit that will go towards their graduation requirement for their majors as well. So the Off-Campus Study Office is doing just really terrific work on behalf of our students. Another really important thing to note is that if you're receiving any kind of aid from the college, it travels with you. So you don't have to spend more money to do an off-campus study semester than you would if you were at Grinnell College, which makes it super accessible. About 70% of our students are having an off-campus study experience. So in addition to doing a traditional semester away, students can choose to do those in either semester of their 3rd year or the first semester of their 4th year. We also have something called course embedded travel that students can participate in. And this is under the umbrella of FLAG, Faculty Led Across the Globe classes. Our professors will propose to the office, the Institute of Global Engagement, a course that will include some kind of travel. If it's happening in the fall, students will typically travel over fall break. And at the end of the semester, if the class is going to happen in the spring, students will take 1 week of their spring break. We have a 2-week spring break, and then another week at the end of the semester. So course embedded travel is another way for students to kind of get their feet wet as far as doing some study off-campus work. There is a small fee associated with the course embedded travel, depending on the financial situation of the student, but it does cover all the costs associated with the trips that our students are taking. So Harvey, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us about your off-campus study experiences?
Yeah, so I had 2 off-campus study experiences. My first was in the fall of my 3rd year. I did a semester in Cambodia with the School for Field Studies. So that was like a small cohort field research program where we'd spent 2 months taking classes and then the last month doing a faculty advised research project there. And that was a really great program for me because it was like environmentally focused, but also pretty like social and cultural history focused, religious history. So very anthropological in many ways, and just a really great experience to, meet so many people in a part of the world that would be really hard for me to go and make those connections on my own. We had faculty that were fluent in the language and, had all these community connections based on the research that they had been doing already. So it was a really, really great experience. And then in the spring, I did a course embedded travel class, spring of my 3rd year. I came back, and so that was an anthropology seminar about Irish history, collective memory of the troubles, the conflicts with Northern Ireland, the Irish Civil War, British colonialism in Ireland. So we went to Belfast, Derry, Dublin, and just kind of traveled around Ireland. And that was especially fun because it was with our Grinnell classmates and our Grinnell professor. So then like coming back, we sort of all brought that experience back with us to the classroom, and it just made the second half of the semester especially fun.
Thank you, Harvey. And I know, Joyce, you've got some plans for studying away from Grinnell. Do you want to share those with us?
I already did one study abroad program. Last summer of 2023, I studied abroad at Yonsei University in Seoul, South Korea. And even though I lived in Seoul, South Korea my whole life, I never got to attend a Korean school, and that was always like a lifelong dream of mine. But I never thought that I would be able to fulfill it. But thanks to Grinnell, I was able to go to Korea and attend a Korean school and just kind of learn more about the Korean culture, which was so much fun. And then this upcoming semester, so fall of 2024, I will be going to AIT Budapest in Budapest, Hungary, which is one of the leading computer science study abroad programs, and I just really wanted to do that program because I really felt like it would make me a better computer scientist and it would make me more versatile, and I also thought that it would be yet another opportunity for me to meet students and professors from all over the world and develop my computer science knowledge. And then in the spring of 2025, I will also be going to Singapore Management University through an alternate off-campus study program. And what that basically means is, even though Grinnell has over 100 study abroad programs in 40 countries, if you can't find a study abroad program that checks off like all of the boxes, you can actually find one on your own, talk to the off-campus study department about as to why this program would like fulfill all of your goals. And I did that. I really wanted to go to Asia, but I also really wanted to go to a business school because that was just something that I was always interested in. And I was also interested in earning a Master's of Business Administration or MBA. So I just thought that going to a business school would be a really good opportunity to see if that's something that I'm interested in. And so in the spring of 2025, I will be studying abroad at the Singapore Management University as well. So I'll be gone for the full year.
I think both of you had some really amazing experiences off campus. I'm going to bring us back to campus. We're going to talk a little bit about research opportunities at Grinnell. We like to say that 100% of our students are doing research because that's what you do in college. Everybody does research. But I think Grinnell College does a beautiful job of honoring students' desire to create their own knowledge, to not just be consumers of knowledge, but to be creators of knowledge. And so students can do independent research in a lot of ways. Some students will just set up an independent research project with a professor. It'll be more of a directed reading, and they will work together for a short period of time for a semester. But we also have, it's kind of a more structured way of doing research through something called the Mentored Advanced Projects, or a MAP. So they are exactly what they say they are. They're mentored, which means you're working with a professor. They're advanced, which means even though you're thinking about it in your first year, you wouldn't do the research until sometime in your second, third, or fourth year. And then the project is what you and the faculty member who is working with you will develop together. So the student and the professor will actually write a joint proposal. The professor writes their part, the student writes their part. They will formulate a budget. It gets submitted to a faculty committee, and if it's approved, the student gets to do the MAP with their professor. If the MAP is occurring during the school year, it will replace a class, and a student earns 4 units of credit. If a MAP is happening over the summer, it will, you still get 4 units of credit, but students are also paid a wage. A lot of times students will incorporate travel money into their budgets so that the college can pay for another opportunity for them to do research. Students can do work with their professor here, or they can do a lot of work at other locations in other countries or at other research universities. It just depends on the work that the professor and the student are doing together. So MAPs are a really great vehicle for students to do research. They're not the only vehicles for students to do research. So Harvey, tell us a little bit about the work that you have done, the research you've done here at Grinnell.
So I'm working on I'm almost done. I'm presenting this week. My senior thesis in anthropology. So that was structured as an independent study in the fall to do my data collection, and then a MAP in the spring to do the write-up, data analysis, presentation, all the last things. And so my senior thesis is on substance use care providers and the experience that they've had in Iowa, with stigma and with the health insurance system. And so just sort of looking at how those things play together and impact the care that they're able to provide.
And when are you doing this presentation?
It's on Thursday at noon.
Awesome. Joyce, do you have any research that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so as a part of my history class in my first semester of college, I took History 100, which was Intro to Historical Inquiry, and I got to do archival research. And so my group mates and I, we researched about like the Spanish influenza and typhoid fever epidemic in 1918 in Grinnell, Iowa. And we just kind of researched about like how it started and like what it was like living there, how it ended, and how it impacts Grinnell to this day. And it was so cool because we got to do archival research. So we went to the Burling Library, which is our largest library on campus, and downstairs they have like a special collections and archives where they just like hold a bunch of old artifacts and just like newspaper articles. And so we got to like look through all of those to conduct our research. We also went downtown to the Drake Community Library. We conducted research, and it was just so cool to gain that experience as a first year. And I never would have thought that I would gain archival research, especially as a first year, which is super cool. And then this upcoming summer, I'll be spending my summer in New York City. I'll be doing a joint program with Columbia University and Amazon, and I'll be doing like engineering research, so I'll be researching in the field of human-computer interaction, which I'm so excited about.
So that's great preparation for maybe being an academic or being a researcher in industry. We're going to talk a little bit now about the career preparation that you get through the Career Life and Service Center. So the Career Life and Service Center is something that students will actually start learning about in their very first year. Every tutorial is assigned an advisor from the Career Life and Service Center. And the advisor is someone who works in the exploratory advising career community. It's someone who spends all of their time working with first and second year students. They may start off with basic like learning about a student's skills, helping a student to understand what they like and what they don't like, helping them figure out what they might want to do for a living, helping them figure out how to access their network, alumni, friends, internships, funding. The Career Life and Service Center has just so many opportunities for students to learn and grow and figure out what they want to do, who they want to be. We call it Career Life and Service as opposed to career development, because we really think that we're teaching students about themselves and about the potential lives that they could lead, as opposed to how to get your first job when you graduate. Harvey, tell us what you have, how you've worked with the Career Life and Service Center.
Yeah, the CLS, they're nice to have that resource just to go like bounce a resume off of or a cover letter. I've done some interview prep at the CLS. I've also used the career clothing closet, so you can get some nice clothes in there. But I'd say the biggest like interaction I've had with the CLS is through the Service Leadership Work Study program that I mentioned before, working with the Grinnell Housing Authority. And it's nice to be able, sometimes or monthly, we'll have like an event where we meet up all together, all of the students who are working with other organizations across the state. So it's kind of nice to see that like community of other students at Grinnell who are also interested in those like service related opportunities.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you first got engaged with that piece of CLS?
Yeah, I had come back from abroad. So spring of my third year, and I saw the listing on Handshake through the CLS, and it was something that had really aligned with my interest then, because when I was abroad I did a research project on gentrification, sort of tourism-driven gentrification and housing displacement in Siem Reap, Cambodia. And so it was the Housing Authority, it was all about housing insecurity right here in Grinnell. So I was really just interested in those things kind of aligning, and I thought it was a really good opportunity to do something, you know, a little more service. You know, I wanted to do service, but I also needed a job, as one does. Yeah, that program was really cool for that aspect.
And tell us about your experiences, Joyce.
Yeah, so I'm also very close to the people at our Career Life Services Center. I'm especially close to Danny Perkins, who's one of our exploratory advisors, and I would just like go into her office sometimes and just like kind of talk to her about like what I want and just kind of like rant about any like thoughts that I've been having or like how my day has been going. And so she knew me very well as a person. One really cool thing about the CLS is that not only do they help you like explore career opportunities, but they also connect you to Grinnell alumni. So for example, over the summer of 2023, the CLS actually connected me to a Grinnell alum who's living in Shanghai, China. His name is Jason Chen, and he was looking to hire some Grinnell interns, and the faculty at the CLS thought that I would be perfect for the role. And so I like applied for it, I interviewed for it, and I got the job. And so I got to homestay at his house and just like intern for him. And it was just so cool, not only to like gain work experience, but also like understand like Shanghai, China's like work culture and just like try living in a different country. But also I got to see like what Grinnell alums are doing firsthand, which was so cool. And also last winter I got to intern for Dr. Han Seung-soo, who is the former Prime Minister of South Korea, and he's also the former 56th president of the United Nations General Assembly, and he still also holds several high positions within the UN. And I got to go to Seoul, South Korea to intern for his startup company, which is super cool. And it was just so amazing to see all of these resources that the CLS has. And I can really feel that Grinnell is preparing students for post-grad opportunities, which is really awesome.
Yeah, so they will help you find these internships, fund internships, and also prepare you to do graduate and professional school work. Our data tells us that students who graduate from Grinnell College are doing a lot of things. 60% of them are going immediately into the workforce, approximately 60%. Approximately 30% of our students are going to graduate and professional school. And also we have a whole bunch of students that are getting fellowships and different opportunities to do service work through their networks at Grinnell. So we have a really nice way of preparing students through the career, life, and service work through something called career communities, which range from the education career community to media arts and communications, to STEM career communities, health professions career communities. They really are very full service in thinking about how our students can grow and develop in the fields that they're interested in. Anything else you want to share about career, life, and service?
Grinnell also does this really awesome thing called Mentor Grinnell, where they basically, a bunch of Grinnell alums, they kind of help students that are interested in the field that they're working in and just kind of mentor them. So we have a bunch of different cohorts that you can sign up for. I signed up for the technology and data cohort and then the business and finance cohort. So I got to meet Grinnell alumni who are working in both sides of the industry. So last semester, I met a Grinnell alumni who is currently working as a data scientist at Nationwide Insurance, and he just gave me a lot of tips and advice as to what I could do right now as a college student. And he just kind of helped me navigate the recruiting process and just gave me a lot of insight into what the job market is like. And then currently, I'm a part of the business and finance cohort, and I'm talking to a guy that's an audit associate at Deloitte. And he's also been giving me a lot of different career advice, and he went to grad school, which I'm also very interested in. And it's so nice to be able to talk to Grinnell alums and hear about their experiences and just gain insight into the job market right now.
So I'm going to pull it back to Grinnell and have you all talk a little bit to us about your lives as students here. Harvey, can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a student athlete at Grinnell?
Yeah, it can definitely be busy. It's a lot of fun though. Swimming has just been a huge part of my experience here ever since I visited. I knew it was something that I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to swim in college before I even looked at Grinnell. But I think, it really has helped me, well, I'm retired now. But it helped me create that balance, I think, between academics and athletics and social life. Athletics for me were a huge part of my social life, and just having that group of people that you spend so much time around was really, really fun and really important to me. And it also helps you structure your time, I think. If I know I have to go to practice and I know I have to get my homework done in so much time. So I found that I actually generally did better academically in season. Just because there's so much structure. And it was just one of those things where it's you put so much time and energy and effort into, and it's just a very cherished memory and these awesome times that you had with all your friends.
And also, Harvey is humble. You hold some school records, yeah?
I have one, the 400 medley relay.
And Joyce, I know you're a member of a few clubs. Can you talk a little bit about what club life is like at Grinnell?
So I'm a part of AAA, which is the Asian American Association, and I'm also a part of CASA, which is the Korean American Student Association. And it's just really nice to have those kind of groups, and I really feel a sense of belonging and inclusion here. And I never would have thought that we would have so many Koreans in rural Iowa. I was expecting myself to be the only one, but Grinnell is so diverse. We have so many diverse people, and it's just really nice to be a part of that kind of community. So this last week, for example, AAA and CASA had a little collaboration, and they gave out free shaved ice, which is a Korean dessert called bingsu. And it was just really nice to have a little study break and to talk to other people that are part of the community. And it's just a really nice club to have here.
One final thing to add is that we have a really robust student government association that actually does a lot of stuff. They hold actual power. They have a big budget. They are really thinking about how best to coordinate student activities, how to fund student activities. So Grinnell is a place where you really can get a lot of wonderful leadership skills if you want that kind of thing. So I think that's all we have to share with you about Grinnell and about being a student at Grinnell. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I know that you could all be spending a lot of time doing other things, but we really appreciate that you wanted to get to know Grinnell a little bit with us. So thanks.